Hey everybody, this is Tyler Dockery, and I'm touching base again on portfolios here in week 3 of GRD280. Hope this week is treating you well. There's been a lot of back and forth in the portfolios discussion board, and a lot of you are making some good plans regarding portfolios, where they're going to come from and what they're going to look like. If you'd like to come by my office, you're able to see some of the different ones that we have kicking around here, if you should so wish it. But I urge you to make sure that you think about this with the right frame of mind as you start moving into this. Some of you, I noticed somebody in here talked about they were looking to spend about $1,000 all told. That's quite silly. Don't spend that much money. Even if you're thinking about you're going to leave North Carolina, you're going to go out to Hollywood, California, and you're going to be bringing 10 printed portfolios that you will drop off in people's offices, like that still will not run you even $500. So think very well about what it is you're trying to do and how you want to do it, and be pretty realistic. So that said, we're going to talk about a few of them. I want to talk about this one first. This is a true flat, lay flat booklet from Laser Image NC. This book held an entire portfolio and extra pieces at the end. It cost between $30 and $40. It's perfect bound with a self-cover material. 8.5 by 8.5 inches is the largest size that they make for these, but they do go lower down. The whole book, when it is opened, is 17 inches wide, and that allows us to lay each piece down so that there is no visual gutter as the pieces bulge together. They're right here in Durham. If you order your portfolios early, they're about a 4-day turnaround. However, these are very popular because they're relatively cheap, in the $30 to $40 range. Last year, so many people ordered those that they ran out of paper. So don't wait until the last minute. One of the second books we have here is, oh gosh, who's this by? I'll figure it out as we go. This is a piano hinge style post board. You can see it's got a flexible gasket in here that allows the book to open and show the page materials inside. For those of you who are, I believe this was by Klo, K-L-O. For those of you who are looking to do something like this, just be really cautious. The first thing that you want to go ahead and think about with any kind of book is there will eventually become a size which is maybe too big for you to think about. And items which are too big can be bulky. So 11 by 17 is fine, but just remember, when you open it up, you'll be looking at 34 inches. That's almost 3 feet of artwork. Those are very large files, and it can be rather expensive. When you are dealing with these, you will probably have to purchase individual sheets that are going to come in here, and they will have to be secured into the binding through these screws. Or you may have to purchase plastic sleeves. But don't forget, anytime you have one of these, you will need to print a large size piece, trim it down to full bleed, and that can cost you money. A set of 11 by 17 full color pieces trimmed by themselves are going to cost you at least $30. Trimming it down by hand may take you time, or you could ask someone else to do that on a machine, but that's going to be an additional cost value to you. So just make sure that you are keeping track of that. Also, don't forget that many portfolios, if they come from locations far away, they're going to have to be shipped, and shipping costs about $30. So just be aware. One option that will be available if you are out of state is that you can have your portfolio built sent to the printer, and then shipped directly here to this school. Just a reminder, your work will have to be here in my office during week 10 so that I can mark it up and send it back to you. If you're out of state, that means probably around week 9, you're going to have to write everything down and ship it and send it to me so that it gets here in time. Otherwise, you won't be able to make any adjustments or changes that I suggest into your work. Now, if you like flying by the seat of your pants, you're on your own with that one. Okay, so let's have another look here. This is one that someone made on their own. You can see it's solid maple. This thing is hardy. They've taken it to a location and had their name laser etched into the front. One thing to think about with these pieces which are laser etched is what happens if you make a mistake when you're doing it on your own. In this case, you put a second piece of masonite or this nice wood here on top and burn in a new sheet of veneer. So you'll see the cover here is double thick as opposed to the back. Here we see all of the pieces are placed inside. They're all cut and put in the piece. What happens when Ashley decides she doesn't like this font any longer? Something to think about. She'll have to buy a completely new piece. So just remember, as you're working through your materials, will something black like this stand the test of time and continue to be really good looking, or is it going to be something where you will look back later and think you can never use it again? A book like this, which cost you between $30 and $40, if you want to change the pieces out, you just go back to your InDesign file and print another book for $30. Go and pick it up in 4 or 5 days and everything's done. Let's talk about another option here. This handbag does not match my shoes. This handbag, however, brings something to our mind. What are we going to do? How are you going to deliver your work? This person decided that this bag would be her portfolio bag, and any time that her portfolio went somewhere, it would go in this bag. She would always know where it was. Opening this up, we see an annual report. And here is a portfolio. It comes along with an additional 2-page spread printed to size and resumes and other such items. This portfolio is 8.5 by 11, trimmed to size. It is a lay flat book. I'm not sure where this one came from, to be honest. But lay flat books like this, they're a good way for you to place your work and not have to worry so much about the bulges of the interior. All right, I want to talk with you about one other one before we end, and this is a piece that is done by one of our former graduates. It is a 10 by 10 book. It is the size of my chest when it is closed. It is doubly large when it is opened. The pieces inside have very little, if any, bulge between the pages. This was printed at blurb.com. She had to add some additional materials in the back so that she could have business cards, and this pocket allowed her to add resumes directly into the back of her book. 10 by 10 is a fine size. Some people say it's a little bit bulky to work with, but it's fine. Just a reminder here, anything that is big, your work better be perfect, because you can't hide anything at that size. Okay. I urge you to continue, consider working with your stuff. Some of these pieces, like this blurb book, cost $100, and it cost $50 for shipping just to get it here by the time that it was done. So this was a very expensive book. This book was between $30 and $40 from Laser Image NC in Durham. It took 4 days to get this printed from the time he turned it in. These folders from Clo cost about $130, and then all of these pages had to be printed independently, hole punched, and then placed into the bindings. So have a look around and see what's out there. Most of the seated students go for the smaller portfolios from Laser Image NC, but I urge you, put your hands on the portfolio that's going to say something about you. But also don't forget that there is a turnaround time that's involved. In week 10, you're going to show me your work, printed out, full size, trimmed to full bleed if that's what you're doing, in black and white. I'm going to comment on every single spread. I'm going to read every single word. You and I are going to sit down for about 40 minutes to an hour looking over that material, and then you're going to take back your notes. I'm going to write directly on the sheets, and you're going to go make your changes. Once you've made your changes, you're going to ship it to your printer. If your printer requires over 2 weeks to process your work, maybe 10 days to process your work, and then 4 days to ship it, that you might find yourself in a spot where you fail this class because you haven't gotten your work to the printer early enough to receive your final on the day that it's due. And just don't forget that just because you have paid for 2-day shipping doesn't mean it'll come in 2 days. You might pay $28 to get it the next day, and it doesn't show up, and then you get a 0 for 35% of your grade in this class, effectively failing you out of the course. Do your best, watch your timelines, begin with the end in mind, and I look forward to seeing your work. Drop me a line if you need any information. Please communicate with me as early as possible, and by all means, design your future.